I want you to look at something you have held in your hand 1,000 times without ever really seeing it. A plastic bottle of water. At the gas station, it costs $2. At the airport, it costs $5. Inside a 5-star hotel minibar, it costs $12. Walk into a private members club, and the same bottle costs $30. Put that same water inside a designer bottle stamped with a luxury logo, and people will pay $2,000 for it. The water never changes. The cost to produce it is a few cents every single time. So what is actually changing? If you think the answer is quality or ingredients, you are about to understand why you keep getting underpaid for your work. Stay with me, because the next few minutes will change how you see every paycheck you have ever earned. The flight ticket proof. You already believe this. You already understand this rule. You just never applied it to yourself. Book a flight a month early, and the seat is cheap. Book the same seat on the same plane the morning of the flight, and it costs 3 times more. Nothing about the plane changed. The fuel is the same. The pilot is the same. The only thing that changed is how much choice you had left. When you have time to compare and shop around, nobody can charge you a premium. When you have no choice left, you pay whatever is asked. That is why a person lost in the desert will pay $100 for a bottle of water they would normally ignore at the store. The water stayed exactly the same. Only the situation around it changed. Remember this, because it is the first rule of your own price. You are never paid for what you are. You are paid for how badly you are needed in that exact moment. Why a fancy latte costs 4 times more than gas station coffee. Here is the second rule, and it is even more uncomfortable. A cup of coffee from a gas station costs $2. A latte from a trendy coffee shop with a hand-drawn logo costs $7. The beans, the milk, and the sugar barely explain a $2 gap, let alone a $5 one. So what are people actually paying for? They are paying for the feeling they get holding that cup while walking down the street. They are not buying caffeine. They are buying proof to themselves and everyone watching that they have a certain kind of life. The moment you help someone confirm the story they want to believe about themselves, price stops being a problem for them. This is why people who complain the loudest about being underpaid usually made one mistake. They focused entirely on doing good work and never thought once about the story their work was wrapped in. The 3 games people play without knowing it. There are 3 completely different games happening around money, and almost everyone is stuck playing the smallest one without realizing it. Game 1 is selling your hours. This is the person driving for a rideshare app or clocking in for a shift. Work today and you get paid today. Stop working and the income stops instantly. Your ceiling is fixed at 24 hours because that is all any human gets. Game 2 is selling a system. This is the person who stops working every single hour themselves and instead builds something that runs even when they step away. A subscription, a team, a service that delivers value on repeat without them personally showing up every time. Their income is no longer tied to their own hours, but to how many people and processes they can manage. Game 3 is selling a solution. This is the person who does not sell water at all anymore. They sell you a system that gives you unlimited clean water for the rest of your life, so you never have to think about it again. Their income is tied to the size of the problem they remove from your life, not to how many hours they clocked. Ask yourself honestly right now which of these 3 games you're actually playing. Why the same skill gets paid 10 times differently. Two people can have the exact same ability and get paid 10 times apart, and it has almost nothing to do with talent. A pair of ordinary seashells picked up for free on any beach means nothing to anyone. Clean them up, put them in a nice box with a short story about the shore they came from, and people will happily pay $50 for that box. Nobody is buying shells. They are buying a memory. They are buying a feeling they get to hand to a friend. Value was never sitting inside the object itself. Value only exists the moment someone else perceives it. You can be enormously skilled and still be paid almost nothing if nobody around you can see or feel that skill clearly. Being good at something is not the finish line. Being seen as valuable is the actual finish line, and almost nobody tells you that part. The three switches that decide how expensive you are allowed to be there are exactly three switches that control how much value people assign to you, and once you understand them, you can start flipping them on purpose. Switch 1 is environment. The same bottle of water sitting on a gas station shelf and sitting inside a 5-star hotel room are perceived completely differently, even though nothing physically changed. Where you place yourself often matters more than what you actually are. Switch 2 is scarcity. The reason a bottle of water can sell for $100 in the desert is because there is no second option. When you are the only person who can reliably solve a specific problem, you are no longer negotiating price. You are simply naming it. Switch 3 is emotional safety. People do not only pay for a function, they pay for the relief of not having to worry. A client who trusts you completely will happily pay 3 times more than a client working with someone unreliable, because peace of mind is worth more to most people than the task itself. What your paycheck is actually buying here is something almost nobody tells you at work. Your employer is not paying you for your time. If they were paying for your time, every hour of overtime would automatically come with a raise the next morning, and you already know that never happens. What you are actually paid for is the size of the problem you remove from someone else. Delivering water to a thirsty person solves a tiny problem and pays very little. Installing a system that guarantees clean water for years solves a much bigger problem and pays significantly more. Designing the entire standard that an industry uses to guarantee clean water solves the biggest problem of all and pays the most. Look honestly at your own work right now. Are you solving a tiny daily inconvenience, or are you solving something that would genuinely hurt someone if it stayed unsolved? Your income ceiling is set by the size of that answer far more than by how many hours you put in. The silent reason talented people stay invisible and broke. There is one final trap that quietly keeps skilled people broke for years. They believe good work speaks for itself, so they never talk about it, never document it, and never show up anywhere. The truth is, the world is loud and crowded, and nobody stumbles across quiet excellence by accident. That $2,000 bottle only sells for $2,000 because someone built a story around it, a location around it, and a reputation around it. Strip all of that away, and the same bottle sells for pennies. Your ability is the water inside the bottle. How clearly you explain what you do is the label. The rooms and circles you show up in are the shelf you're placed on. The trust people build in you over time is what brings them back to buy again. Skill alone was never enough for anyone in history, and it will never be enough for you either. Why? Comparing yourself to the cheapest person in the room is quietly ruining you. Most people price themselves by looking sideways instead of looking at the problem they solve. They see someone charging less and immediately assume they should charge less too. Nobody does this with the water bottle. Nobody stands inside a five-star hotel and demands the minibar match the gas station price. The hotel guest is not comparing prices in that moment because the environment already told them what tier they are standing in. The moment you start justifying your price by pointing at the cheapest competitor, you have already placed yourself on the cheap shelf without anyone forcing you there. Stop measuring yourself against the lowest offer in the market. Start asking what tier of problem you actually solve and place yourself on the shelf that matches it. This one shift in thinking is often the difference between staying stuck for another decade and doubling your income in a single year. Nothing about your value was ever fixed the day you were born. You can stay on the $2 shelf, getting compared and undercut by everyone around you, or you can move yourself onto a shelf where you are trusted scarce and clearly understood. That single decision changes everything about the number attached to your name. So think about it honestly for a second. Right now, today, which shelf are you actually standing on?